What's going on, everyone? My name's Obi, and welcome back to the Courtside Financial podcast, the podcast where we talk about the business and technology that matters to your portfolio. Today, we've got a hot question from one of our listeners. They asked, would it be possible to get a breakdown on the competition and how they might stifle NIO? Great question, especially considering that NIO's autonomous driving tech isn't getting as much buzz as BYD, Tesla, or even some other players in this space. So let's get into it. Grab your coffee and make yourself comfortable. We'll talk about the other players in the space, what they're doing, and how they could potentially derail NIO's ambitious growth trajectory. Before diving into the competition, let's briefly recap what we discussed in our last episode about what Western Securities said about NIO's projection. So here's a headline that caught my attention and probably many of your guys as well. Analysts are expecting NIO's battery swap business to break even by 2026. The team believes that as NIO's vehicle sales ramp up, those battery swap stations will become much busier. Common sense, but they're forecasting an average of 61 battery swap stations per day by the end of 2026, just enough to cross the break-even threshold. But there's some real-world evidence backing up their claims. NIO CFO Stanley Q confirmed last November that 60 to 70 swaps per station per day is the target that they need to break even. And speaking of vehicle sales, the Western Securities team is bullish on NIO's growth trajectory. They're projecting that NIO will deliver 430,000 vehicles in 2025 and 563,000 in 2026. That's year-over-year growth of 94% and 31% respectively. For context, NIO delivered 221,970 vehicles in 2024, with 201,209 under the NIO brand and 20,761 under Envo. This aligns with NIO's management's own confidence. These are ambitious projections that rely on the steady growth of NIO's premium brand and the rapid expansion of their brand new sub-brand Envo, and also future sales from their newest brand that's soon to come, Firefly. But here's the thing, these projections exist in a vacuum if we don't consider the competitive landscape. And that landscape is changing dramatically, particularly around autonomous driving expectations. February 2025, and where we are now is the year that the industry is calling the year of autonomous driving. I'm not saying they're in some serious trouble, but NIO obviously needs to stay competitive here, or they could be in some serious trouble down the road. And that might not even be too far away. Two major players have fired what one analyst is calling shots at the Chinese auto market. BYD and Tesla. These moves are fundamentally reshaping customer expectations around autonomous driving. BYD's made a stunning move with its quote-unquote eye of God technology, democratizing features across its lineup. Even the affordable Seagull, priced around $10,000 for conversion purposes, now offers high-speed navigate on autopilot, automatic parking in various scenarios, and high-speed AEB braking. Meanwhile, Tesla has finally launched its FSD in China after overcoming numerous regulatory hurdles. The system cost roughly about $9,000 for the conversion purposes, and that's as a one-time purchase, which is expensive. It's creating massive buzz on social media platforms since the release. Doing my research today, I saw it yesterday. Just been seeing it every day. That's the talk of the town, if you will, in the automotive industry right now, especially as it pertains to China. Here's why this matters to NIO. These two automotive giants are transforming intelligent driving from a luxury feature to a standard expectation. One industry observer noted that the perspective of consumers right now regarding intelligent driving is that I can live without it, but you can't live without it. In other words, autonomous driving is becoming a make it or break it feature for car sales, especially in the premium segment where NIO operates. Despite NIO's technological prowess, they're facing a visibility problem in the intelligent driving space. They're simply not getting enough buzz like competitors like Xpeng, Tesla, or BYD are generating. We seldom talk about NIO when it comes to autonomous driving. Now, whether that means that their software is not as good as these competitors, that's up for debate, but it's certainly possible. I don't take that off the table. NIO's invested heavily in their NIO pilot system, but they haven't managed to capture the public imagination the way Tesla has with FSD or BYD has with their democratization approach. This could be a major sticking point as intelligent driving becomes more integral to vehicle sales. When potential consumers are comparing a NIO vehicle to alternatives such as a BYD, such as an Xpeng, such as a Tesla, the question of capabilities will increasingly come to the forefront. And if NIO can't quite articulate their advantage, they might find themselves losing some sales despite strengths in other areas like battery swapping. Speaking of Xpeng, let's talk about their remarkable turnaround. Talked about this a little bit on the channel already, but for the sake of this video, let's bring that back into the fold. This is a case study that NIO should be following carefully, in my opinion. Xpeng was struggling financially last year, with sales languishing under 5,000 vehicles. Fast forward to 2025, they're already selling 11,100 vehicles, outpacing many competitors. How did they pull this off? The key was a fundamental shift in strategy. Xpeng moved from being primarily technology focused to user-centered. They realized that cutting-edge tech alone wasn't enough. It needed to translate into benefits and value that consumers actually feel good about. Their Mona ML3, introduced in August 2024, embodies just that. It combines affordability with intelligent design, even outselling BYD's Quinn Plus. They also made critical leadership changes, bringing in an industry vet who improved their supply chain and reduced costs through a detailed audit. The lesson for NIO: technology for technology's sake isn't enough. If NIO continues to only make the focus of their communications primarily on battery swapping without talking about how their autonomous technology is doing and how it actually improves the lives of consumers, they could find themselves in the same position that Xpeng was before it had this inflection point. If you want to be a part of the conversation before it happens here on YouTube, click that link in the description to join the free Courtside Financial Discord. Another concerning trend for NIO is the rise of formidable competitors from adjacent industries. Xiaomi has become the new god of war in the pure electric vehicle market. They've delivered 135,000 new vehicles with the Xiaomi SU7, and the order backlog is massive, over 150,000 vehicles waiting for delivery, with delivery times even stretching to 33 weeks. This summer, Xiaomi is launching their second vehicle, the YU7, a pure electric SUV. That's going to be competing with the likes of the Tesla Model Y and the Envo L60, things in that space. It's priced between 250,000 and 300,000 yuan, so obviously that puts it in direct competition with the Tesla Model Y, even overlapping with some of NIO's models. For NIO, we've got to be honest, Xiaomi represents a dangerous competitor. They bring a massive consumer electronic ecosystem, deep pockets, and a fresh approach unencumbered by the automotive industry's traditions. They're also masterful at marketing and creating buzz, precisely the area where I feel like NIO is struggling with the autonomous driving narrative. Another competitive threat comes from Li Auto, which has just officially announced its first pure electric SUV model, the Li Auto i8. This marks their second serious attempt to enter the pure electric battlefield. Li Auto has priced the i8 at 300,000 yuan, positioning it as a medium to large SUV. This directly encroaches on NIO's territory, the territory that they made their name off of. What makes Li Auto particularly dangerous for NIO is that they're learning business agility. When Huawei entered the extended range market with their M7, it nearly collapsed Li Auto's sales. In response, Li Auto completely reorganized their organization, learning from Huawei's approach. Now Li Auto is studying Xiaomi closely. Their founder reportedly attended the entire Xiaomi SU7 launch conference and stayed there for internal reviews until 1 a.m. The company then ordered its strategic department to study Xiaomi's approach, particularly their marketing and channel strategy. This adaptability makes Li Auto a formidable competitor for NIO. If they can successfully transfer their success in extended range models over to pure electric vehicles, they could take significant market share from NIO. Coming back to BYD and Tesla, these two companies have what one analyst is calling a combination punch. BYD is focused on bringing intelligent driving to the masses, while Tesla is leveraging its brand halo to attract newbies in the EV world. Together, they're establishing a new expectation. All EVs must have great intelligent driving capability. For NIO, this presents a serious challenge. Their battery swapping technology, there is the possibility that even though it's great, it might not be enough to fully distinguish them in a market increasingly focused on autonomous driving technology. So how might this competitive landscape impact the rosy projections that we discussed in our last episode? First, the delivery targets of 430,000 vehicles in 2025 and 533,000 or 36,000 in 2026 seem increasingly ambitious given the heated competition. If autonomous driving becomes the primary purchase consideration and NIO can't get up to speed in this area or really vocalize the value that they add in this area when it comes to their vehicles, sales growth might not take off as explosively as one might hope for. And I'm a bull and an investor, so call me one. Second, the battery swapping business breaking even by 2026. That projection or that hope might be negatively affected if vehicle sales do not meet the projections that we need for that. Fewer NIO cars on the road mean fewer NIOs for battery swapping service, potentially delaying the break-even point beyond 2026. Third, the big improvement in the bottom line in 2025 could be at risk if NIO has to invest heavily in improving their autonomous driving technology to catch up, or if they need to increase marketing spend to talk about the technology that they currently have right now. So what should NIO be doing to counter these competitive threats? I think that they need to reimagine their autonomous driving narrative. NIO needs to clearly articulate how their autonomous driving technology translates into practical benefits for users. They can't afford to be left out of the year of intelligence narrative. Second, I think they need to leverage their battery swap advantage differently. While battery swapping is still a unique selling proposition, NIO needs to connect it directly to overall user experience. How does it complement their autonomous capabilities? How does it make the ownership experience superior in that regard? Third, they need to accelerate the Envo and Firefly sub-brands. Diversifying their product lineup across different price points could help NIO capture market share even as competition intensifies in the premium segment. Fourth, they might need to consider partnerships. NIO might benefit from partnerships that enhance their autonomous driving capabilities or provide additional differentiation. Fifth is really just doubling down on user experience. Following Xpeng's example, NIO should ensure that they're focusing on user-centric design rather than technology for technology's sake. As a NIO bull who tries to stay objective, here's my take. The competitive landscape is definitely getting more challenging for NIO. We cannot ignore that, especially around autonomous driving. However, NIO still has significant advantages with their battery swapping infrastructure, premium brand positioning, and a diversified product strategy. The key question for everyone involved is, can NIO successfully pivot to emphasize their autonomous driving capabilities while still continuing to leverage their battery swap differentiation? If they can, those ambitious projections might still be within reach and feasible. If they can't, we might need to temper our expectations. Remember, Western Securities is projecting a big improvement in the bottom line in 2025, but that improvement relies on NIO successfully navigating this increasingly competitive landscape. That's it for today's episode. If you enjoy these breakdowns, make sure you hit the subscribe button, click the notification bell icon, hit the like button, and leave a comment down below. Engagement really does go a long way in helping out the channel, helping us to reach a broader audience. So thank you for watching. Have a good weekend. We'll see you in the next episode. Thanks. Bye.